Hello. I wanted to film a video, but I didn't feel like not doing other things. So I'm gonna put on my makeup while I film. So you may have noticed that I haven't posted in a while. So I wanted to let y'all know that I'm taking a break is a strong word because I'm going to keep posting as much as I can, but the amount that I can post is going to be a lot less. And that's going to last indefinitely. I'll probably be good by summer, I'd like to hope, because essentially I'm in a PhD program and it has this exam we take at the end of our second year, which I am at now, that tests your knowledge of the most important concepts in the doctorate, so before you move forward that you know the basics. And I have that this semester. I have it in 2 weeks from yesterday. And so, along with a full course load and working at the university, I am preparing for that. So that's been eating up a lot of my time, and I've just been really behind. When I started this channel, I kind of realized that this once a week format wasn't going to last very long because I just don't know that many songs. I mean, that's a ton of songs. So it's pretty amazing how long it lasted, actually. I'm pretty impressed. But, que sera, sera. I don't think I can do that much anymore. So once I come back, I'm probably going to transition into a period of more talking and less music because there's only so much music out there. And I know not that much of it, so as a result, I don't have a lot of options most weeks. And I mean, of all the videos I've posted, an amazing amount were like last minute, including this one, because I just didn't have the time to plan something better. And it's unfortunate, but it's true. So I wanted to keep you guys updated on that, in case anybody was just sitting at their computer freaking out, like, oh my god, no Andy Jet videos. What am I gonna do? I don't think anybody's doing that, but in case you were, now you know. I've been taking some time to, recenter myself lately, and traveling and doing fun things on the weekends and stuff, just to kind of reprogram. Because I'm a really, really busy person, and the amount of work I have is pretty overwhelming, so I typically have to, take time and, chill out, calm down for a while. And, so recently, as part of that project, if you will, I went to Austin and saw, one of my oldest friends from college. And that was fun, and the main reason I'm bringing this up is I wanted to, give some thoughts, because I saw this film. You may have heard of it. It's called A Cure for Wellness. I saw it because Dane DeHaan is in it, and I like him, so whenever he's in a movie, I go see it. I'm a simple man, okay? If Dane's on the poster, I'm there. So, I saw it. I was looking forward to it, especially when I found out that Jason Isaacs was also in it. I like him a lot, and I'll watch things because he is in it, so it was a double whammy. It wasn't bad, really, but it definitely wasn't great. At the end of the day, I enjoyed viewing it. Did I leave my powder over here? I don't think so. Where did I put my powder? Oh, wait. It's in here. So I did enjoy viewing it, but maybe not for the same reasons that they wanted me to enjoy viewing it. The fact that it was supposed to be a scary movie, I mean, people are always debating, at least in my circle, they're always debating what is the purpose of horror versus thriller. I don't watch horror movies. I'm just too wimpy for that. So if a horror movie is good at its job, which is to be scary, then I haven't seen it. So I've only seen bad horror movies. But thrillers are a different thing because they're supposed to be tense, but maybe not actually scary. But I've seen 2 thriller horror type movies. One was Crimson Peak, and one was A Cure for Wellness. Crimson Peak was good, but it was panned because it wasn't scary enough to be horror. Which made me a little bit angry because those of us who don't like being scared actually really appreciated that. But anyways, A Cure for Wellness, I think, was more obvious about the fact that it wasn't trying to be that scary. But the advertisements for it definitely did, act like the movie was supposed to be really scary. So it was branded to critics, I think, as a thriller, and audiences as a horror. If you'd like to be scared, I wouldn't recommend this movie, because I could handle it, and that means it really wasn't that scary at all. I mean, I'm a wimp. I don't like scary movies. I actually stopped watching It Follows because it was too scary. So, if you like horror, that's a really good one, because I couldn't watch it. But I could watch this one, and it wasn't actually scary. It was just creepy and freaky and weird. Which is, okay, I guess. But when pulled off properly, I think that's great. But I think we should know by now that it wasn't, based on what I'm saying about it. So, I'm not gonna spoil it. I don't know why I'm not gonna spoil it, I just don't feel like it, I guess. But, literally, after watching it, me and the friend that I saw it with were just sitting there coming up, with all the plot holes that it had. And we would keep, thinking, okay, so that's all the plot holes, and then we'd be like, oh, wait, what about that? That was never resolved. We'd be like, oh, crap, I totally forgot about that plot hole. And it was almost funny how many plot holes there were. I mean, serious plot holes. And a lot of things that were just, it's not really a plot hole as much as why? That didn't really make sense, just in general. It was one of those things where I don't know if it was really trying to make some sort of social commentary, but if it did, it failed because it was ooh, this modern thing, and then it's actually deeply entrenched in this 200-year-old lore. So that's not really a relevant concept, and again, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's not just that the lore is old, the lore itself is just not applicable to daily life, and it really didn't make sense based on whatever social commentary they might have been trying to do. And there were some mixed messages with that in general. And I would love to say that the script was bad, but the acting was good, because I loved a lot of the actors in it. But that's not true. I don't want to lie to you. That's not true. The acting had its ups and downs, that's for sure. And the beginning especially, I think, was supremely... I guess I haven't seen many Gore Verbinski movies. He directed this. But, so I don't know if this is normal for him, but the beginning was trying really hard to make us uncomfortable in very weird, not helpful ways. The very, very beginning, the introduction scene is, not really relevant to the film unless you go with the social commentary angle, which doesn't make sense considering... it seems like what they did was they had social commentary sandwiching it at the beginning and the end, and then in the middle it was just totally irrelevant, not social commentary stuff, which I don't think is the point of some sort of satire. I think it should be more consistent than that, from what I know. So that was not good. There were a lot of weird plot holes, and I think you should know by now. I don't think this counts as a spoiler, because just Jason Isaacs existing is a spoiler for this one. Jason Isaacs is the antagonist. Because that's just what he loves to do. And let me just say, Jason Isaacs seems like I can guess he enjoys playing villains. good for him. I'm glad he likes it. And he got pretty popular doing that. But I guess that wasn't enough for him, because then he decided to step it up a bit, and he was in the OA as the antagonist there. And he was worse than he was in his other works. As far as, you know, like, he was a worse person. His character was even more villainous, right? And then I guess he wasn't satisfied. Because, man, do they try so hard to make this villain the ultimate villain. Like, he's awful. I mean, it really... What he actually does is terrible, right? Of course, because he's a villain. But he's also extremely, supremely creepy and vile. And I'm happy for him. And maybe it would have worked if the rest of the movie was good, but it seemed like he was the only person in the movie that was actually trying, but he was trying to be disgusting, and everyone else was just not trying, so the only thing that really came through was his disgustingness, and as a result, the audience was left disgusted. Pretty straightforward. Dane. Oh, Dane. Why do you do these things to us, Dane? I'm not sure who thought that... I mean, I feel bad. Dane DeHaan has been cast as a lot of teenagers in his life because he happens to look relatively young. And that's great and all. And you can get a lot of good work as an adult who looks like a teenager, since obviously casting teenagers is hard, and teenagers have special union laws, and teenagers tend to be less experienced at acting because they literally are younger. So I think he could have a great career just playing teenagers until he gets really old and then he does whatever he wants. I don't know. But it seems like he really doesn't like playing teenagers exclusively. Can't blame him. Okay. So he's like, I want to break out of this, play some different roles. But he really does not make sense in this role. The script doesn't help him at all. The plot doesn't help him at all. But he's still not good. I mean, he's supposed to be this uptight business guy. Yet again, it seems like the weird half-assed attempt at social commentary kind of failed there because they just have this like generic business jargon, but it just sounds so obviously, like, it makes me think of like in sci-fi movies where they're like, oh, the flux capacitor is crashing, and then they just say these like wacky things and you're just like, who wrote this? You know what I mean? Well, it's sort of like that, but, you know, not even interesting because it's not sci-fi. It's just regular business talk, and they're like, oh, the stock in the accounts, and we gotta close the deal, and it's just like, oh my god, it just seems so bleh. I don't even know how to describe it. Well, that at all wasn't the eyeshadow I was trying to put on, but I don't clean my brushes, so this is the eyeshadow I have on now. So that was kind of rough. Again, that contributed to the beginning being the worst part of it. And then we get to the actual plot. This movie was way too long, by the way. And here's what's amazing. Whenever a movie has plot holes or issues, I always give it the benefit of the doubt, and I always add, like, well, as you know, the editing plays a major role. A lot of good stuff gets cut and left on the cutting room floor. And so I always try and give that caveat out of support for how hard it is to make a movie. But this movie is like 3 hours long. And there's like 45 plot holes. I'm like, okay, so what was edited out? What was so bad that it couldn't make it in the movie? If this is what we saw, like if this is what you thought was acceptable, what are we missing? I mean, it makes me think of, when William Shatner on Star Trek was really pushing for the first interracial kiss on television, and the studio wasn't so happy about it, so they demanded they do a take where they didn't kiss, and he, secretly messed up all the takes when they didn't kiss, that they had to kiss. That's how I feel must have happened with these plot holes. They must have flubbed all the takes that explained everything for some reason, some sort of sick curse is on this movie, and the actors were like, no, the whole world is going to be cursed by this curse of this movie's plot. We've got to stop it from getting to theaters. What? What? So like I said, technically it was enjoyable. I would recommend it if you want to go see it with a friend and start counting all the plot holes. And if you're not easily disturbed, because as much as it's not really scary at all, it definitely has, especially once the real plot starts to be revealed, has a lot more nastiness. For me, here's my thing. Horror should use disturbing elements to freak people out, but it should be creative disturbingness. So, I think It Follows pulled that off really well. It was a unique way to disgust the audience. It wasn't just disgusting stuff. It was so weird that you were like, ugh. And if that's what you want from your audience, then okay. And I think It Follows came through with that in a way that really hadn't been done before. But A Cure for Wellness didn't do that. It just did stuff that was gross because it was gross. It was almost like the thriller equivalent of a farce comedy where 80% of the plot is just poop and fart jokes because it's easy. It's kind of like the horror version of that, where it's just pull out the easy stuff, and and so that failed. And when I read a lot of the reviews of this movie, they all said something along the lines of oh, Gore Verbinski has this really strong visual style, and you can see it in all his work. I didn't ever finish reading one of those reviews, but it's still I'm not sure if the visual style in this was that strong. In fact, I know that it wasn't. There was definitely an aesthetic consistency-ish, but it wasn't really deeply unique. And the fact that I know that without seeing that many films like this one is a little depressing. It seemed pretty straightforward to me. Maybe I'll do a spoiler version of this review if anybody wants me to, which I doubt they do. I don't think anybody wanted me to do this review in the first place. But God, it just had so many issues. And it was sad because I went to the theater with my friend, and we had planned to see this movie. While he was in the bathroom before the movie started, I took the time to look up the movie's Rotten Tomatoes score, noticed it was abysmal, and realized I should have gone to see A United Kingdom instead, because that's obviously a much better movie and also has an actor who I will see regardless of what he's appearing in. And I was like, I should have never looked this up. But honestly, it made it easier to come in and be critical, because they feel a little bit more validated about being mean. But wow, were there uncomfortable moments in this movie. And I'm not sure how much we were supposed to like the main character. Was he supposed to be likable, or was he supposed to be an anti-hero? I didn't want him to suffer. My friend and I saw it at one of those dine-in theaters, and so the way it works there is you write your order on a card and place it right side up so that the server can see it, and they'll take it and get your order. So they had a bunch of little tiny slips of paper, so my friend and I were passing notes on those. And I wish I'd kept those, but we went through 3 napkins and 5 order cards of notes of how bad this movie was, and very early on, in the film, he attempts to leave, and we know it's not going to work out because we know that the plot of the movie is like no one really leaves. But I remember writing on the card, like, I want him to just leave now and everyth's fine and the movie ends. He's like, wow, that place was creepy. I'm not going back there. The end. Like, that would have made for a much funnier movie. Although it would have pissed people off, would have been like 30 minutes long. But it would have saved the main character and the editors and the studio and the theater and the actors and me a whole lot of time and self-respect. I remember before I saw this movie, I saw Dane himself go on The Tonight Show to promote the movie, and it was a really uncomfortable television appearance. They weren't trying very hard. I don't know why they did that, but they just were kind of weird. But anyways, so I saw him on The Tonight Show, and he promoted the film, right? And he described it. He's like, oh, so my character is going to get his boss from this, like, wellness spa. And then he gets there and he finds out, like, nobody really leaves. And then he goes on this, and this is how he described it, I swear, crazy, scary, crazy journey. And I remember thinking, did he see this movie? Because it sounds like they just gave him cliff notes on it and he hasn't even seen it because he doesn't know what he's describing. But then I saw the movie and I was like, oh, he saw it. Because that's the best way to describe it. There's no good way to summarize this movie. It was definitely a crazy, scary, crazy journey. Definitely emphasis on the crazy, because it was just all over the place. And honestly, for a 2.5 hour movie, it really wasn't, the flow wasn't terrible. It made sense within the 2.5 hours. I would have been fine with it being that long if the content was strong enough. Like, it didn't feel awkwardly paced, in my opinion. I mean, other people might be more sensitive to that. I'm not big of a stickler on pace. A lot of people are really, really touchy about it. I'm not that sensitive. But it didn't seem like the pace itself was a problem because of the length. It was just more mediocre film content for the longer amount of time. Honestly, the best acting was probably by Mia Goth, but here's the thing about that. I'm not sure what she was trying to do, so I can't really illustrate whether or not she pulled it off, because I don't know what she was going for, or what the filmmakers were going for exactly, because I still don't know exactly a lot of major questions I have about this character. So we don't know exactly what's going on with her, even at the end of the film. It's amazing how long, I mean, I've already sort of said this, but it's so long. So why aren't basic questions dealt with? Like, I get room for interpretation, but jeez. Oh, actually, that was interesting. This is one thing I'll definitely talk more about if I do a spoiler review. 'Cause, like, there was one point where I guessed a twist, and I was completely wrong, but I still maintain that my idea for this twist would have been way better than what actually happened. It would have made so much more sense in a unique, different way, which is what unique means. But you get my gist. I mean, seriously. I had a much better idea. And I didn't even think about this movie for months. I had only started thinking about it since I saw a trailer for it a week earlier, and I had only known anything about it, really, since I walked into the theater like 2 hours before that. Well, more like an hour and a half. So, I mean, time was distorted in that theater. I have no idea what was happening. I wouldn't necessarily call it so bad it's good territory, because it does have moments that were, like, I think good. You know, because, like, think about Sharknado. There's, like, nothing good about Sharknado, you know what I mean? This was a much better movie than that. But it wasn't great or anything. So, I guess the moral of my review is you gotta be a specific kind of person to enjoy this movie, but you might want to see it just because it's a little hilarious. I give A Cure for Wellness, See You United Kingdom Instead out of 10. My friend Market Reef Lighthouse made an update video, and it was 10 times better than this one. I mean, it was so much better. It was perfect. I would encourage you to check it out. I have no idea if this is the same shot as before because my camera overheated in the middle of me talking. Rude. So I hope you enjoyed this glimpse into my daily routine. Should I do makeup tutorials? I don't think I'm qualified for that. I just kind of slather it on, as you've clearly seen. This is my ritual. This is my stupid ritual, okay? How else is setting spray gonna dry, alright? Okay? Stop the judgment. Thanks for watching. Sorry I'm gonna be posting less. I'm sorry I failed you. Is this really close to my face? Oh, that's even closer. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around. Also, I hit 50 subscribers. Total side note, but I did. So that's great. And I will see you guys around.